once the main support struts are removed and the massive link trusses installed. Link trusses are huge reinforced steel brackets that bind the towers at the 23rd floor. Once their installation is complete, they transfer the sloping tower's weight completely away from its temporary struts.
Once we're satisfied that we don't have any stability issues, then we can bring the large hydraulic cranes in and member by member start to dismantle the struts. We've got a lot of time pressure, so we just got to make sure that these things keep moving.
As the last pieces of support struts leave the site, Glover and his team can finally breathe a sigh of relief. The link trusses are holding the building load. So far, so good. Not all the structures have ended up according to plan. The 60-meter-high Art Science Museum is facing a major design overhaul. Planned as a venue for blockbuster exhibitions on the arts and sciences, its bowl-shaped roof doubles as a 3,000-seat amphitheater. Unfortunately for engineers eager to start its construction, architect Moshe Safdie isn't happy with its current shape.
Somebody looked at them and said, looks like a bunch of bananas. In fact, Mr. Adelson said, looks like a bunch of bananas. I said, well, if they look like a bunch of bananas, we're not there yet.
It's terrible news for Safdie's design team, especially its principal, Gene Dyer.
There are times that Moshe will come in with an idea. We think it's quite exciting. We'll pursue the idea for weeks or even months. He'll come back and say, I want to change the idea. And we've already bought into the idea, so it's a bit frustrating.
To rework the unique geometry and dimensions of the Art Science Museum, Dyer and his team turned to advanced 3D modeling programs. It not only makes navigating the museum's complex geometric patterns easier, it shortens the process to a matter of days.
The model is dynamic and it can be moved by just changing one or two elements. Moshe could experiment. He could make rapid judgments in a very short period of time about which way he wanted to take the project. This is a process that was impossible to do 10 years ago. Without the computer, this would take years and years and years.
After months of refining the design, Safdie is finally happy with the result.
The mathematical precision that we gave them made them even more beautiful. It led some people to say, well, hand of welcome. Others said, is that a lotus? And the more ambiguous the associations, the closer I thought we were getting to our target. Because I think the least exciting buildings are those which have overt symbolic associations.
Armed with the new design, engineers begin work on the museum's 60-meter-high superstructure. A staggering 5,600 steel elements weighing some 5,200 tons are prefabricated to exact specifications. They are then trucked onto site and assembled. It's like putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle. Each element has to be installed with pinpoint accuracy. If it's even a few millimeters off, engineers will have to start from scratch. Engineers of the massive atrium at the base of the towers are facing an equally tough construction process. Safdie has come up with a challenging design. He wants to inject art into the atrium's architecture, so that visitors will feel like they're walking through a grand Gothic cathedral.
In medieval times, if you think of a Gothic cathedral, there's the architecture, there's the stained glass windows, there's the sculptures on the pinnacles. You cannot draw a line and say art and architecture. Art and architecture are one, they're singular experiences. And I think what we try to do is come back to this integrative mode.
To create the centerpiece of his vision for the atrium, Safdie commissions renowned British sculptor Antony Gormley. Famous for his unusual approach to art, Gormley is the brains behind the Angel of the North sculpture in northern England. What he's about to attempt is proving to be more of a construction challenge than an artistic one. A cloud-like sculpture some 40 meters long, made up of 15 tons of high-grade stainless steel, hung 12 stories above the atrium.
The Angel of the North is, in a way, making a very traditional public sculpture because it's isolated in space at the edge of a valley. You can see it for miles and miles. It's very much about occupying space. This is about activating space.
But just as they're about to begin construction, a bombshell drops. September 2008. A global financial crisis wreaks havoc on markets. The flow of the hundreds of millions of dollars that keep the Marina Bay project going every month suddenly stops. For engineer Matthew Pryor, it's a massive blow.
I feel devastated. It couldn't be worse. Probably the worst day of my life professionally. There's no more money coming through. So unless we put some funding in place or there's something, we're going to have to shut the jobs down. There's a tough decision to be made, and we don't know what we're going to do just at this point in time.
With the future of the multi-billion-dollar project plunged into doubt, all eyes turn to the man behind it, Sheldon Adelson. The next move of one of the world's richest men will determine the fate of the mega construction site. The 2008 global financial meltdown is a haunting echo of the 1990s Asian crisis. Back then, progress on Shanghai's World Financial Center came to a complete halt. For 5 years. For Adelson, that's simply not an option for the high-profile Marina Bay resort. His vision of changing the face of Singapore tourism is at stake. And so are billions of dollars of investment from his Las Vegas Sands Corporation. He prefers finding a stopgap solution to weather the storm.
Throughout history, there has never been a trend that went straight up, nor a trend that went straight down. So it goes up and down. It's only a matter of time when things will recover.
In a bold move, Adelson pledges his vast personal wealth to the completion of the project, effectively ending any speculation of failure.
There's a massive sense of relief in the company. I mean, everyone pleasantly surprised how quickly we've got through this and the fact we could hold it together and get it going again. So euphoria is probably the best way to describe it.
With the crisis averted, construction on the 3 57-story hotel towers, the casino, theatres and convention centre resumes at pace. Everywhere you turn, steel is being installed. It's vital reinforcement for every concrete structure on the 15.5-hectare site. For one project at the tower's atrium, steel is more than just reinforcement. To construct the 15-ton drift sculpture by British artist Antony Gormley, engineers had to first laboriously prefabricate it into over 70 segments. The segments are then welded into 8 slices and will ultimately form the sculpture. It's a tricky operation, but engineers are able to complete it swiftly due to a system of codes and numbers that enable them to quickly identify what goes where. Once all 8 slices of drift are fully assembled, it's lifted up into position by a temporary lifting frame. A massive box truss on the atrium ceiling then takes over the load. In theory, the box truss will support the weight of the lifting frame as it's being lowered down. It will be a heart-stopping moment, especially for engineer Graham Stevenson.
The lifting frame is about 9.5 tons, so when it picks up and gets some momentum, there's a potential that it just wants to flick over and rotate through its full 90 degrees, and we won't have it under control.
Stevenson's solution: 4 powerful automated hoisting drums located at the 4 corners of the frame. They allow workers to control the strength and speed of the operation with high tensile steel cables. A spotter at the top determines the pace of the procedure and marshals the team. The entire operation is estimated to take up to 10 hours to complete. As soon as the frame is in motion, there's no turning back. Midway through the lift, Stevenson receives reports of a potential problem.
22-story, number 7 temporary cable, scaffolding touching the cable.
You got
The temporary cable touching to the transverse.
Yeah, but is it just the end of a tube?
Yeah.
So you can just cut the tube?
Yeah.
Problem solved. But what was previously an estimated 10-hour procedure now turns out to be a 24-hour marathon lift. At 6 a.m. the following morning, they complete the job.
Absolutely fantastic. The Gorman is now finally in its final position, so really an end of a long and exhausting day, and big thanks to everybody, but it's finally done.
While the drift settles into its new home at the Hotel Atrium, elsewhere attention is focused on one of the project's key features: the Crystal Pavilions. The 2 glass-encased buildings by the promenade are set to be the resort's premier shopping and entertainment complexes. But before engineers can make them a reality, they have to secure their footprint. And already a major obstacle threatens to sink their objective. The Crystal Pavilions are situated within the confines of Marina Bay. So to found it, engineers have to find a way to build in 6 meters of water. The responsibility of tackling the problem falls on the shoulders of engineer Kurt Vella.
I'm from Sydney. The underlying foundation in Sydney is sandstone. It's rock. All you need to do is just dust off the surface and you can build skyscrapers on it. Here it's very different. All the structures have to be heavily founded.
To keep water out of the construction site, only one solution seems viable for Vella and his team: a waterproof steel structure called a cofferdam. This temporary formation surrounds the worksite with a circle of steel sheet piles, creating an impenetrable shield that locks out the water, keeping the workers safe within. For the job, they rope in a 12-ton vibro hammer. It punches the sheet piles deep into the earth, making the cofferdam rock solid and resistant to movement.